Hi everyone. Welcome to another video on the channel. Today we're going to talk about the updates on the war between Russia and Ukraine. Let's start with some very impactful news. Ukrainian drones struck a major Russian military factory in the city of Izhevsk, more than 2,300 kilometers, 800 miles, from Ukrainian-controlled territory, a source in the Security Service of Ukraine said. The source from the Security Service of Ukraine said the agency's long-range drones hit the Kupol plant in Russia's Udmurt Republic on the morning of July 1. At least 2 drones hit production and storage facilities, starting a fire at the site, according to the source. The facility produces Tor and Osa air defense systems, as well as Harpy attack drones for the Russian military, and is under international sanctions as part of Russia's defense industrial complex. With surgical precision, the SBU continues to carry out strikes against Russia's military-industrial enterprises that contribute to the war effort against Ukraine, the source said. Each of these operations weakens Russia's offensive potential, disrupts weapons production chains, and proves that no part of Russia is a safe zone for its military infrastructure. Residents of Izhevsk reported explosions early on July 1st, while local authorities confirmed a drone attack on a facility in the city. Alexander Brechalov, head of Russia's Udmurt Republic, said that emergency services responded to the attack and that more information would be provided as it becomes available. Brechalov later reported casualties, citing deaths and serious injuries, but did not provide specific numbers. Russia's aviation agency temporarily suspended flights in and out of the city's airport following the incident. Russian telegram channels reported that no air raid sirens sounded before the drone attack on the Kupol plant. According to Astra, Izhevsk residents were also unable to access warnings via telegram due to mobile internet disruptions, which residents say have persisted for almost 2 weeks. Russian missile attack in Dnipropetrovsk Oblast kills brigade commander and injures 30, says Zelensky. A Russian missile strike killed the commander of the 110th Separate Mechanized Brigade, Serhiy Zakharovich, and injured 30 people in Huliapol, Dnipropetrovsk Oblast on July 1st, President Volodymyr Zelensky said in his nightly address. The Russian army attacked the Kamyansky district, where the village of Huliapol is located, on the morning of July 1st, reported Governor Serhiy Lysak. Huliapol, with a pre-war population of about 1,200, is located in the western part of eastern Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, about 70 kilometers from the front line. We will definitely respond to the Russians for this attack, Zelensky said, adding that the investigation into the Russian strike is ongoing and he is awaiting a report from the military command. Zakharovich graduated from the Odessa Institute of Land Forces. After graduation, he led a platoon in a reconnaissance company of the 30th Separate Mechanized Brigade and the 1st Tank Brigade. In February 2025, he was appointed commander of the 110th Separate Mechanized Brigade. Prior to that, he served as deputy commander of the 33rd Mechanized Brigade. Zakharovich was involved in preparing 3 qualification courses for the Ukrainian Special Forces and headed the 47th Special Forces Detachment. He participated in combat missions on the front. Our army has lost another representative of a new generation of Ukrainian officers who grew up in combat and became models of courage and proactive military leadership. The General Staff statement read,
Ukrainian forces strike Russian command post in occupied Donetsk Oblast. General Staff says, Ukraine struck a command post of the 8th. combined arms. Army of the Russian Armed Forces in the Russian-occupied part of Donetsk Oblast. The General Staff of Ukraine reported on July 1st, a day after the attack. On the night of June 30th, explosions were heard in Russian-occupied Donetsk. The Russian telegram channel Shot reported. According to residents, several fires were detected in different parts of the city. The strike significantly hampered Russia's ability to plan and conduct operations in the Pokrovsk and Donetsk areas of the front line, the General Staff statement said. Russian losses are still being determined. Ukraine's military regularly strikes military targets in Russian-occupied territories and deep within Russia in an attempt to diminish Moscow's combat power as it continues its war against Ukraine. Russia has for months been concentrating its offensive efforts on the city of Pokrovsk in Donetsk Oblast and has recently been increasing attempts to invade the neighboring Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, a region that has not yet seen combat. Ukraine has denied reports that Russian forces breached the regional border in May and June.
Не выходите сильно.
Это район центрального универмага.
Наталья, уйдите от балкона, ради бога. Да уходим.
Important facility hit, Ukraine strikes Russian. Oil refinery in Saratov Oblast, military says. Ukrainian drones struck the Saratov oil refinery in Russia's Saratov Oblast, causing damage to the facility. The General Staff of Ukraine reported on July 1st. An important facility was hit, the General Staff said via its official Telegram channel. The Saratov refinery and chemical plant, owned by Russian energy giant Lukoil, is located almost 2,500 kilometers from the Ukrainian border in the city of Saratov. The city is home to several strategic military and industrial sites. The refinery was targeted to reduce the enemy's offensive capabilities, the General Staff wrote. The occupiers used the capacity of this refinery to supply fuel and lubricants to Russian military units involved in the armed aggression against Ukraine. The attack was a joint operation carried out by Ukraine's military intelligence agency CHUR and other military units, the General Staff said. A fire broke out at the site of the attack, and damage to the refinery's technological facilities was confirmed. The full consequences of the strike are still being investigated. The report is the latest in a series of announcements on July 1st about successful Ukrainian attacks on Russian targets. Earlier in the day, the HUR released footage of Ukraine's UJ-26 drones, commonly known as beavers, targeting high-value Russian air defenses and a fighter jet in occupied Crimea. A source from the Security Service of Ukraine, SBU, told the Kyiv Independent that Ukrainian drones struck a major Russian military factory in the city of Izhevsk, more than 2,300 kilometers, 800 miles from the front lines. Ukraine also hit a Russian command post in occupied Donetsk Oblast, according to the General Staff. At least 2 civilians were killed and 33 were injured in Russian attacks against Ukraine over the past 24 hours, according to local governors, referring to June 30th and July 1st, 2025. The Ukrainian Air Force said that Russia launched 114 Shade-type and decoy drones overnight from various directions as well as 4 S-300 missiles. Air defenses shot down 40 drones, while 39 disappeared from radar or were intercepted by electronic warfare. In Kherson Oblast, Russian forces shelled a hospital in the city of Kherson on the night of July 1st, injuring 8 people, including patients and medical staff, said Governor Oleksandr Prokudin. 2 other people were injured in other parts of the region over the past day. The attacks damaged residential buildings, a farm, a business, and vehicles in more than 30 settlements. In Kharkiv Oblast, 4 people were injured in attacks on the city of Kharkiv and 6 other communities, reported Governor Ole Sinihubov. Russian forces used guided aerial bombs, multiple drones, and artillery. Civilian infrastructure, including homes, a transport stop, an emergency medical facility, and businesses, was damaged or destroyed. In Donetsk Oblast, 2 civilians were killed, and another 10 were injured by Russian attacks on July 1, according to Governor Vadim Filashkin. In the city of Sloviansk, a postal terminal operated by Nova Pochta, Ukraine's largest postal service, was destroyed. No employees were injured, according to an official statement. In Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, 5 people were injured, 4 of whom were hospitalized after a drone attack in Nikopol, said Governor Serhiy Lysak. Russian attacks damaged a private business in Kryvyi Rih and a farm in the Samar district. Fires were reported at both locations. Drone and artillery attacks also hit residential and infrastructure targets in the Nikopol and Pokrovsky communities. In Zaporizhzhia Oblast, 4 civilians were injured in Russian attacks in the Vasilivka and Polohy districts, reported Governor Ivan Fedorov. Throughout the day, Russian forces launched 376 attacks on 14 settlements, using aircraft, drones, multiple rocket launchers, and artillery. Over 10,000 Russians signed contracts for war in Ukraine in first half of 2025, Moscow says. More than 210,000 Russians signed contracts with the Ministry of Defense from January to July 2025 to fight in Ukraine, said Dmitry Medvedev, deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council, on July 2nd. The pace is quite decent, good, Medvedev stated at a meeting of the Armed Forces Staffing Commission. I hope that we can maintain the same momentum in the future. An additional 18,000 individuals have joined volunteer units, Medvedev added. The revelation comes as Russia continues to intensify its war effort, despite repeated calls from Ukraine, the US, and European partners for an unconditional ceasefire. According to Western and Ukrainian intelligence cited by the Wall Street Journal, Russian forces recruit 30,000 to 45,000 new soldiers monthly, nearly twice Ukraine's mobilization rate, which President Volodymyr Zelensky said is 25,000 to 27,000 soldiers per month. Ukraine estimates that Russia has suffered nearly 1 million casualties since the beginning of the full-scale invasion in February 2022. However, Moscow has compensated for its losses through aggressive recruitment and a steady stream of contract soldiers. In late 2024, Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a decree increasing the size of the armed forces to 2.38 million personnel, including 1.5 million service members. Russia also launched its largest conscription drive in 14 years this year, aiming to enlist 160,000 men for compulsory service. The country holds 2 annual conscription campaigns, in the spring and fall, requiring 1 year of service from eligible men. Although conscripts are not typically sent to combat zones, The Kremlin has relied on financial incentives and promises of pardons to recruit civilians and ex-convicts for its war, following the deeply unpopular partial mobilization of September 2022, which triggered an exodus of more than 261,000 Russians. Moscow has avoided mass drafts, relying on contract-based service. That's all for today's main news on the war of Russia against Ukraine. Please leave your like and subscribe to our channel to receive daily news. Best wishes.